You can
Okay,
start now.
fantastic. Okay, so we're just going to give a quick overview about Black history. So, Black History Month started in the USA by Gerald Ford, extended to the recognition to honor too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans. It was introduced in the UK in 1987, which coincided with the 150th anniversary of the Caribbean emancipation of slavery and the 25th anniversary of the Organization of African Unity. It is held in October because it's the African chiefs leaders gathering to settle their differences, and it's connected to the Black people's roots in the continent. It used to be a day only, and then it went to a month. Okay, that's a quick background of Black History Month. Okay, so we're going to have our first speaker, which will be Justin. Justin, if you introduce yourself.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Anne, and good afternoon, all, and happy Black History Month. I think I've got it somewhere on my screen above my head. Where do I start? So, I think I've got roughly about 20 minutes. So, if that's okay, I'll combine a couple of things where I would like to talk about a little bit about my own experience joining the civil service, some of the tips that I sort of picked up along the way to help me find different roles, but also as well the kind of work that I do corporately to help networks, to help mentees, and to hopefully help just change the environment a bit more within the wider civil service to make it more diverse and inclusive. But I'll be honest with you, my key thing is to make it fair. I've worked with too many people, usually from an ethnic minority background, who are treated quite poorly because of color of their skin, how they sound, where they're from, in comparison to how I've seen other people being treated and welcomed into certain spaces. So I've never really been like comfortable with certain line managers who play on stereotypes or biases, whether it's conscious or unconscious. So also as well been bit of a thorn in people's sides, especially when it comes to bad management. So I also as well would say that in my role, because I'm not sure if bios need to be shared, but I'm currently the G6 in my team, which is a net zero strategy team or directorate now, sorry, and I lead on governance, ministerial and senior briefing, and fiscal events. And fiscal events is just really managing our directorate's money and trying to make sure that people don't spend it on the wrong things and that we've got clear audit trails, and that can be fun. And I've got three grade sevens that are under me. And then after that, I've got some SEOs, HOs, and three EOs. So I've got a team of about 12, and I try to ensure that my team are always focused on a couple of things. So one, I'll be honest with you, I always want my teams to have fun while they're working, and fun can be different for different people, but we always try to ensure that we've got each other's backs, that we've got a good clarity on what we're trying to deliver, but also as well that we make sure that we are creating opportunities for people in our team. So whether that's job sharing, whether that's being multi-skilled, whether if some people want to do compressed hours, whether some people want to go and do job secondments, I usually try and say yes, because when I first joined the civil service, I heard no a lot. And I never really want to be a line manager or a leader of people who says no. I might say, let me think about it, but I'll never say no. And then also as well, I think I've got, yeah, on that side, I'm a co-chair of our faith and minority ethnic network, which at the moment I have been told across the whole of the civil service in the whole of the UK is probably the only race and religion or race and faith and belief network. So we combine both. And the reason why we've always tried to do that is because usually, if you're an ethnic minority, you will have some sort of faith or belief. And very much for us, we try to ensure that we look at things from a intersectionality process and also as well, or lens, sorry, and also as well an inclusive lens. And in that role, very much focus on what we can be doing to help improve our organization. And I come from the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. And when I mean about trying to improve our organization, I go back to that word I use, like being much more fair, being really transparent, being more inclusive, like all of these buzzwords that people use. I just really want people to feel that if they're going to come and work for us, that they're being appreciated, that they're being respected, that they're being rewarded if they do above and beyond, and also as well that they're being recognized. And I think for me, that's really where my core leadership, moral, and values come from. And part of that is also as well linked to my faith because I'm very much a believer of how I was raised in the church has given me a load of different views, but also as well has opened me up to the diversity and the wonderful joy of knowing different people, whether from different backgrounds, whether from different faiths, whether from people who don't have a faith. And I've always wanted to be that kind of person that has a team that is just different. And what I mean by different is the fact of if I look across all of my team are very diverse. I have people of Jewish faith in my team. I have people with disabilities, ADHD. Someone's got a neurodiversity. I've got people who are ethnic minority. I've got people who are white in my team. I've got people who are based in London, not based in London, and part of, situation in different places for growth. So very much for me, I really try to sort of embody diversity. Also, as well, if I'm here sort of running a network, I don't want to be accused of only hiring my own. So I've always made sure that. And then on the side of that, within our network, we're very much clear on trying to ensure that people are, and this is the difficult bit, that people are recognized and appreciated for the hello who is now joining who is appreciated for what they bring and whether that is from a different protected characteristic. So once again, if they've come from sexual orientation, whether they're married, whether it's maternity, whether it's ethnic minority, whether it's age, whatever that is, our network within Fame is an inclusive network. So very much we're focusing on people belonging not only to the department, but to a network where they really feel that they can be themselves. And the core thing for us, or our core objective, is always going to be around trying to ensure that our organization is confident in like the race and faith space, but also as well, it's about bringing people together because all of us are more than just our leading protected characteristic. Now, on the other side of that, that side I think is the Civil Service Race Forum, and the Civil Service Race Forum is the oh, we have 75, about 76 now, different race network leaders across once again the whole of the UK. So that's including Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and they're all race network leaders coming into that space to talk about how we can ensure that we have equity, we have equality, and also as well, really clearly that if there is any forms of racism going on in any of the organizations, we try to ensure that we are giving people the support that they need to deal with that. So the negative side around that is the fact of, and people here from PCS will know that we know that there are very high cases of people who are going through discrimination or racism, you know, cases. And I come back down to this word around line management. Some line managers are just not educated enough to be able to deal with people who may not look like them or have similar interests to them. Now, whether they are classed as bad line managers, I would say I would not class them as bad line managers. I would class them as line managers who need more education. I know what bad line managers are, and I bet you everyone here knows what a bad line manager is. And that bad line manager can just be someone who is not very experienced, can't communicate, plays the nepotism game, and there's a whole load of other negative things we can say about bad line managers. And those kind of line managers really do need to be held to account. And part of this conversation when I was invited, I was thinking, well, how can I talk about all of these different things and t still talk about advancing our career? Do not worry, please bear with me. So, when I talk about bad line management, I look at it as a mirror. So I know what bad line management looks is, and I want to ensure as a manager, I do not reflect those things. So part of the advance in my career, going from when I joined the civil service as a temp back in 2007, I spent a lot of my time studying people, listening to them, trying to pick up different ways of what I thought I liked. So you take the good stuff, right? You take the good stuff from other line managers. I did a lot of education, a lot of reading. I did some psychometric testing, personality. Personality is a really big thing. I remember when I had one of my coaches said quite clearly that I'm quite a big personality, which can also as well sometimes be could be seen as dominating, or it could also as well seem as if someone is like quite introverted, can actually be quite intimidating. So I've always been very careful in relation to how I speak, how I use my body language, because I'm not thinking around how other people are perceiving how I come across. And I use that alongside the education part, watching other line managers, reading and adapting like everyone else to start building uh, my own line management style. So at that time, when I joined as a temp, I wasn't a line manager. I had been a line manager in my previous life. So on my first career journey, I'd come from the private sector. I had managed up to 200 people. I was in the financial space. So these kind of things were not difficult for me, but the environment where I worked in those days was very much target based. So in other words, you had people who wanted to work for you because they wanted to make money. So they would do certain things. They would work longer hours because they knew they'd get a bonus. They knew that they would hit their targets. So it was a different environment coming from a more money orientated environment coming into the civil service, which was very people, very structural, very institutionalized. So coming into those, I think someone may have their mic on. If they could just mute that, yeah. So coming from that space, so coming into the civil service on my second journey career, no, sorry, my third journey, because I won't talk about my second one. But on my third journey career, I had to learn to adapt to that kind of environment, and that environment was now more. Uh, Gradis. I don't know if people have heard of that word. So virtually, if you were seen as a temp or an AA or an AO or an EA or an EO, that was a doing role. You were just here to do. And the reason why I started as a temp because I felt that if I was ever really going to progress, I want to be able to start at the bottom and understand what it is, how it is, what is expected from that, because I knew as I continue to progress, I would also as well be able to reflect. I would be able to align myself with that because that was part of my journey. And I've never one thing I've always been really clear to myself and people who I've mentored. Everyone has their own different way of progressing up the system or progressing up the grades. But for me, I really did want to focus on actually understanding what it meant to work at the most junior grade because I just felt that, as I said, every time I moved up, I would learn more, I'd be able to be more relatable, and also as well, I'd learn the different rules, regulations, views, and all of those other good things. And then where was I? So yes, so going back to my stuff in the civil service, talking about advancing careers. So for me, as I said, starting at the bottom, learning a couple of things, doing loads of taking as much opportunity as I could to build my reputation and to build my presence. And eventually those things now have become my brand and people will hopefully understand that. And we can probably talk about that later when people have got questions. But for me, every time I made a decision that I was ready to move on, I wanted to be really clear that I was able to show what my transferable skills were. I also, as well, had always made a plan that I would only stay in a grade or a role for 2 years. And then I also as well wanted to make sure that if I really enjoyed the job, I would stay there up until the point that they just wanted me to leave. And one of my most favorite jobs was when I was a deputy parliamentary clerk, and I stayed there an extra 2 years. And the reason why I loved that was because I got to work with ministers, I was part of private office, I got to meet loads of different people, went to go to the House, Commons and Lords, and got to understand and learn the historical aspects of how bills were going through, how Parliament was set up, and how well Parliament, or how well, or sometimes not work so well with ministers. And once again, because that would add value to my knowledge base, because when I would either then move on, I would be able to provide advice to ministers of how they needed to conduct themselves in the House, or be able to provide opportunity and information to people if they were be either in Parliament, or if they had to support parliamentarians or officials if they were going to be in the House speaking. So all of these different things, or all of the choices that I was making, was always about trying to base where I wanted to go. So, as mentioned, I'm currently a grade six. I'm currently a grade six because I'm not really sure. I'm still in a space where I'm not sure if I really want to move into the SES. But what I always would say to anyone here listening is have a bit of a plan. And some of that plan will be around self assessment. So, what are you good at? Cool. Put that to one side. What are you not so good at? Are you willing to re educate? Are you willing to train to build those kind of things? Have a bit of a, and this is really difficult because when people say, oh, yeah, what's your 5 year plan? I think 5 year plans really change. But I think what you can do is still have a 2 year check in. So you can have a 5 year plan. I want to be this grade, or I want to be in this position, or I want to work for this organization. But you also as well want to have a bit of a check in. And then the other thing as well, and we'll talk about this later, but people love to throw the word mentor out there. Oh, get yourself a mentor. They'll help you. I'll start off at the basics. Get yourself a group of people who truly value you for who you are. Because whatever happens in your journey, or sometimes your journey doesn't always have to go up, sometimes it can sort of plateau out. That good group of people, whether they are your close friends, whether they're your work colleagues, but people who you can sometimes be able to go and ask for advice, or sometimes be able to just, and I don't want to say the term rant, but sometimes you do just need to let certain things off your chest. Or sometimes those people will remind you every time you get hear a no, that people will just remind you and say, okay, that's that one, but don't stop. And then after that, if you truly do want a mentor, what you bring to that relationship is just as important as what the mentor brings to that relationship. So do not go into that kind of relationship empty handed, like the mentor won't learn anything. And also, as well, be choosy. There's no point asking someone to mentor you just because they're 2 grades above you. They're 2 grades above you, but are they actually interested, or are they actually invested in actually seeing you grow? Now, it doesn't always have to be progression grow, but you should grow in that relationship. And so I have always been very selective in who I've either asked to mentor me, or when people come and want to align themselves, going back to my brand, who want to align themselves with my brand so they can say, oh, I'm a sponsor for Justin, because it's a beneficial point. And then the other thing I really do believe is keep yourself focused on the goal. We can all sometimes feel that we are not ready, we are not good enough. We may be in jobs where it's so busy that you can't really have time to do any of that L&D. I would challenge you by saying everyone has 24 hours. And if it means that you might have to wake up 2 hours early, if it means you might have to do some work at the weekend, if that work is going to help you progress, because you can't do it now. I'm not saying do it, but I'm saying if you are unable to do it in the week, I would encourage you to do it at the weekend, because that self investment will give you a return on the investment later on. I'm going to stop there because I don't want to go over time. And if that's right, and should I pass back to you, or should I pass straight back over to Angela?
Thank you very much, Jason. That was absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure our audience got something out of it, and hopefully the chat will start buzzing. Um, so now I'm going to pass over to Angela, who will now share her thoughts.
Yeah, and thank you, Anne, and thank you, Justin. That was a very upbeat contribution as to the work that you are doing in the civil service, and it's fantastic work that you're undertaking, and fantastic also to see the progression that you have been able to progress through the grades within the civil service. And I think, not to burst anybody's bubble, I think I'm going to come in now and talk about what we see from the trade union side of the civil service. So I think we're going to be getting two sides of a coin, two sides of a civil service coin here. Because I just want to talk a bit about what PCS, what PCS do, what PCS of view of the civil service, what that is, and the cases that we see coming across the desk, and how we work within our departments to try to break down the barriers to progression. But I'll start by introducing myself. So I'm Angela Grant. I do sit on the PCS National Black Members Committee. And, people look at me and go, you're black, like you've got fair hair and you've got light skin. But yes, I grew up as a black child. I didn't realise actually until I came to civil service that people would say, you're not black, you're white. And it's because when you're mixed race, dual heritage, and, your family will consist of people of different, let's say, levels of melanin, shall we say. But I was racially abused, same as my siblings were growing up, and I had a difficult time at times with racism. And I will say it wasn't just from white people, it was from both sides, and I often found myself in a bit of a no person's land because I didn't belong to either. And I think that built up a real strength in myself and a resilience, but also a real move to fight for justice, to fight for social justice, and to fight for equality for all. But the reason I step up for our black members is because, looking as I do, as you can imagine, racists will speak in front of me. And when I talk about racists, I'm not just talking about on the shop floor, in our offices. I'm also talking about the racist rhetoric that you sometimes hear in the management structures, even sometimes with those that are creating policy. And although they will say, I am not racist, the rhetoric that they are using could well be actually considered racist language. And when you put them straight, when you speak out, and they will then say, do you know what, I really didn't mean it to come across like that. And it's a case of, well, mind your language. And I think it is, as Justin said, there is a real chasm where training should be for a lot of our line managers, and that is across all government departments. We need better training. I'll just, speak to a point of a case that I did pick up. I don't want to talk about personal cases per se, but a case that I have picked up where there has been race discrimination recognised, although an appeal was not, the case was not upheld under investigation. But they did say that this person should go on to race training, onto an equality training course. So they've obviously identified something. They put this person onto a training course. We find out later on that that person didn't think they needed the training course, so they didn't do it. What happens? What happens with that? So, we still have these issues right across civil service and within the related bodies of the civil service. It's not just civil servants, it's those that, from our facilities and employers also. So there is some big issues that we face within the trade union, but here we're going to be talking about the barriers to employment and the barriers to progression. So how do we in PCS try to address those barriers? Well, the first thing that we do is make sure that we've got an NEC, National Executive Committee, and group executive committees that have reps within those committees that sit under the PCS Black umbrella. Now, PCS Black members, I'm hoping that somebody has put our Black members statement on here that talks about whether you are Black, if you are Asian, if you are Chinese, if you are Arab, if you come from any, if you're of dual heritage like myself, if you come from any of the diaspora and any of the ethnicities that have faced colonialism, that have faced oppression, and you have faced racism, then you belong within PCS black members. And in our union we don't have division. We have had some members saying, but I'm not black, I'm brown, or that person is Asian, they shouldn't be within the black members committee. And that doesn't happen in PCS. We build our black members committees with people that understand, reps and members that understand what racism is and understand what it is to be blocked from progression. And as Justin has said, he has he's come through the grades, and it is really excellent to see that, but the numbers are very low when we move into the senior civil service. So what we've done, the numbers of black workers very low, and I do have some figures here, I've still got them. The latest count on ethnic minorities within the civil service, and for the number for Asian workers is just on 34,000 at the last count that we've had. And for black workers, it is 17,000. Now, they are big numbers, but they are not all represented with PCS. They're not all members of the trade union. And unless we have black workers within the union, how do we pick up all of the priority issues if we don't have, black workers here? And how do we provide the protection of the union to those black workers and make sure that they're not being, sitting at browbeat at the desk with their heads down, not being given TDA, temporary duties allowance for stepping up a grade when their line manager is off, or when there's an opportunity to do some extra work, so that they can build, as Justin was saying, talking about building your success plan. What am I good at? What am I not good at? What can I identify as the work that I have carried out? If you're sitting on the telephony and taking 40 calls a day, as an AO in the department, what are you going to put? What are your success profiles going to give you? So there is a lot of work that we need to do on building our black membership, but also making sure that our black members are stepping up within the union and bringing the issues to us. So we've been, I'll just touch on the TUC race network that PCS had some great input into under our previous General Secretary, Mark Sawatka, and I'll continue to work with our now General Secretary, Fran Heathcote, and our National President, Martin Kavanagh. And they are two people that are totally invested, totally supported. They are a brother and sister to to all of our black members. And I will say black workers and unemployed workers too, because I'm talking about the input from Fran as General Secretary, Martin as National President, not just inside for our workers inside, but also you'll have heard of the pushback policy, the Rwanda plan, the wins that we've had there, our input into the Windrush inquiry. This all comes from, from our national union. So there is a lot of work that we are doing there. But we've been working with we worked with the anti-racism task force, and what they asked us to do was, as a trade union, tell them, what our priorities, what we would want to look at, what we want the TUC to help us to organise under, the headings we can organise under. And we looked at bargaining and we looked at organising. Now, when you look at collective bargaining, that's where we can, if you see policies that are in place that are not fit for purpose, then we have to challenge those policies. So on a national level, things like the success profiles, when they first brought success profiles in, and they said, this will help us reduce a lot of racism. And then you look at that and you think, well, does it though? Because you're looking at behaviours and you're looking at, what people can bring. And again, if we've got members, black workers that are not being given opportunities, how are they then meant to build up their success profiles? It becomes nigh on impossible. And these are a lot of things that our black members are coming to us and telling us about. So within our National Black Members Committee, we work on those kind of policies. But also within our different groups, every government department has a group, and every group will have a black members network within it. So you've got your civil service network, they are the employers' networks, but you should also have a PCS Black Workers network. And in those networks are where we can pick up the issues, and then the group executive committees then can start to challenge the blockages that we are finding. So I work for DWP. That is my department. My day job is child maintenance. I'm a child maintenance officer. So what do we see in DWP? We see workers there that are majority AO, EO, trying to get gain some progression and coming to us saying we're not able to gain progression. What do we do with that? We speak to our leaders, we speak to our directors and say, this is what is happening in this place. You know, it pretty much is, if your face fits, if you're a friend of your line manager, you will get the temporary promotion and you will be able to build your skills. If your face doesn't fit, which happens a lot with either our black workers or disabled workers, you know, or black women, it happens with our LGBT plus members. So we know that those barriers are there for people that sit under protected characteristics. So what do we do? We speak to those leaders, we tell those leaders to put communications out to in every single team meeting that they have, to make sure that they are putting out the temporary duties to everybody, to make sure that it's fair, whichever way they want to do it, on a rota system, maybe, whichever way they want to do it, make sure that every single person has the ability to do some extra work that is outside of the normal work they will be doing to build up. If you work in projects, you're doing a project, then you have the ability to show your talent. If you're sitting on the phone, you don't. And that is a massive, massive block to opportunities for us. So we work on the NEC to fix that. And we also work in our groups to fix that. But also sitting on the UK Civil Service Bargaining Committee, as I do, over the years, I've been a member of the National Trade Union side, where we speak to Cabinet Office. And I don't know if you remember the MP Kim Johnson, when she raised in the House a number of years ago about the fast stream to bring black workers into the civil service. And I think what happened with that fast stream is absolutely absolute evidence of how the civil service treats black workers, because that fast stream was for people that had graduated. They are graduates. So these are people that are educated. And we saw that there was 1 in 143 that was brought into employment in the civil service of black workers. And yet for white workers, we see 1 in 44. There were, I think it was about 90, I think the figure was 98 out of, I believe, about 90,000. And I think it was probably about 120,000. I'm not even going to say the figure. It's 1 in 43. I'll leave it there because I'm not the greatest mathematician, but I can get those figures over to anybody that might need them. I did have it written down, but I can't find it. So when you see that there is 1 in 143 and yet 1 in 44 for the white community, that tells you, doesn't it, that there is some endemic racism there. And they say that there is no structural racism within our departments. Well, the unions see it, so you can't tell us that there isn't. But what we did with that, when I heard, you know, Kim's, and I do know Kim quite well, I speak to Kim quite a lot. So when I heard those figures, as part of the bargaining committee, I took that to Cabinet Office in one of our meetings, and I said, listen, how can you justify this? And what I heard back from a member of the Cabinet Office team was, well, this happens, doesn't it, Angela? It's like women. When I came into the civil service as a woman, you know, I didn't have the skills as a woman, and I had to come into civil service and I had to learn. And I thought, how condescending is that? Not just to women, but to black workers, to black people that have come through university, they have graduated and they're applying for a job in the civil service. They're not coming in to be, you know, brain surgeons or to fly aeroplanes. They're coming in to work in the civil service, and we are told maybe they don't have the skills just yet to come into civil service. We do not accept that. PCS do not accept that. So that's sort of an example of what we can do. So we are working with the under the TUC headings for the TUC that the task force brought in, and that they have now brought in a tracker. And what the tracker does, it's not for employers, but it's for unions, to make sure the unions are doing the right thing. And I just want to give a shout out to PCS at the moment, because you will see on this call, we have got Diane Shepherd, black woman, we have got Law, black woman, we've got Diane Ebanks, who is the head of our equality department, who's a black woman, we've got Chris Williams, black woman that works in PCS, we've got Susanna Arthur, black woman that works in PCS, we've got black men that work in PCS, and I just want to shout out to PCS for the numbers of black workers that PCS employs. As a union, we do some fantastic work, both for the members that are paying their subs, but also within our departments. And I'm not saying that all unions, you know, that our union is perfect and there's never any bullying, harassment and discrimination. But what I will say is that in PCS, it is at the lowest levels. And in PCS, it's not always white people that are discriminating against black people. We often also get, you know, black people cause an issue for other black people as well. A lot of the time we do hear, and I'm not talking about me here, but we do hear, oh, that person's not properly black, are they? What do you mean by that? You're a black person that sits underneath the black, politically black umbrella. So we have raised all of the issues that we are finding. But when you see the numbers, you know, 33,000, 17,000, 34,000 Asian workers, 17,000 black workers in the civil service, and we see very, very small numbers that are sitting in our senior grades, we have to fix that. Now, in my department, as I say, it's for each separate department, each of the government departments to have that they can put their challenges to their leaderships, to their directors, and ask, why is this happening here? NEC will look at over the board the trends, and, you know, again, it's why you need to be putting all of your ethnicity and all of your diversity on your management systems, record on the management systems, because that helps us to see where the numbers are lower and where the numbers are higher, and helps us to challenge that. But I just wanted to say, that's just fallen straight out of my head what I was going to say there. Yeah, so when we challenge within our departments, I'll give you another example of one of the meetings that I had. So I'm in a meeting with our trade union side and our equality, diversity and inclusion team. And on that team, we see women, we see middle-aged white men. And one of the points made by a middle-aged white man, and PCS is here for middle-aged white men too. I'm not trying to differentiate in that respect. Of course, we support everybody, but we are talking about, you know, the blockages to advancement for black workers here. So in that meeting, when they had removed the race champion because of the changes in equality that the previous government were bringing in, they could remove the race champion at that point. And we said, so where is, you know, what happens then? There's going to be a gap here. And this middle-aged white man says, well, what it is, Angela, you know, I don't have to be a black person to understand, you know, black issues. I take umbrage with that. I do. Because you will never understand the priorities of a black person if you are a white person moving in white circles. You will never see it. It will never touch you. So you will never be able to address it. So he says, you know, I don't need to be a black person. So then we hear a woman come in, and she sits and she says, well, you know, I support what he says because I support black people, and I will never have people say that I don't support black people, black workers. And I said, well, that's all well and good, but where are the seniors on in the call? Where are the seniors that are representative of the black community? And they said, well, we don't have any, because, you know, they don't come to us because we have a very small pool to fish in. And I said, well, I'll go back to what you just said. You have a very small pool to fish in because you don't understand the priorities, because you have no black people on your committees. So it becomes a vicious circle, doesn't it? You don't have people there addressing priorities. If you can't fix remove the barriers to progression because you don't understand what the barriers are, how can you ever fix the issues with progression and ever have black civil servants in senior positions? You can't do it, can you? And that's the importance of having the trade union in those meetings. That is the importance of the work that PCS is doing. And, you know, and that is why we need every single person, you know, of every ethnicity, whether you are black, whether you are Asian, you know, whoever you may be. And if you are white also, every single person that is working within the civil service and its related bodies should be joining PCS, joining the union, so we can build our movement stronger. And those, you know, every single rep and member then has the ability to contact the union and raise all of the issues that you are facing, because I see a lot of it. And I do, and it's because of my appearance. I can see it and I can pick it up. But I know that we have black workers out there that are listening, certainly now with what is happening over the abhorrence of that is happening in Palestine, the genocide that we are seeing. And we are hearing black workers speaking out, you know, some, you know, Palestinian women being told, you cannot talk about that, when they are speaking about their family that are still in Palestine. And we have, you know, managers being selective about what you can talk about, what you can't, what they say. And this has been said. Well, our government supports Ukraine, not Palestine. What kind of a political statement is that? So there are some really, really big issues with race, with discrimination, with Islamophobia, running, right throughout our departments, and the union is stepping in. And I will say, as a vanguard for the people here, because when people come to us, when our members and our reps come to us, we can address those issues at a senior level to make sure that they do not happen. So race discrimination, is it a barrier to employment? Yes, it is. We see it all of the time, but we are working to remove those barriers. And I'll leave that there. And I don't know if I've gone over time, but thank you.
You're on mute, Anne. Anne, you're on mute.
Sorry, everybody. All I can say is thank you very much. That's very insightful, very informative, and I'm sure, again, everybody will get something out of that. Now we're going on to the question time. We've got a couple of questions, and then we've got a few on the in the chat. So what I'm going to do is, Tracy made a statement, so I'll just go on Tracy's statement first. I like the way you framed the mentor. I think this was Jason's. When you framed the mentor-mentee relationship, it's very important to remember your self-worth, which is absolutely correct. As well as mentor, I'll just add there's also a coach, which acts slightly different to a mentor, because with the coach, you're the one developing yourself, but the coach is just guiding you through that journey. So if that's the sort of help you want, look for a coach rather than a mentor, and then maybe you can go on to a mentor. Right, so we're going to go on to the first question, and then I'll go back to the chat. So this is for Angela. How can we get PCS to include the need for racial equality in the collective bargaining agenda employers? For example, we need 17.4% target at each grade in the civil service based on the UK black working age population, effective positive action to address persistent under promotion, in grade to qualifications, skills and experience, and the ethnic pay gap. So I know that's a long question.
It is, and I'm trying to remember it all.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
If you get stuck, just come back to me, and I can go over a couple of things for you.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'll probably do it in a holistic response for all of it. I think when I mentioned being on the Civil Service Bargaining Committee, and we have ensured on that committee that we have brought all of the PCS, that all of black issues are recognised under collective bargaining. So all of that, when we talk about the percentages of black workers, I said earlier that we need to ensure that we have got proper training in place for line managers. We need to make sure that our directors are following every one of the policies that are put forward by our unions to make sure that we are increasing representation, but also the policies that are put forward by any outside, whether it come from government, because even when we look at government, there are still percentages that we must hit. But for me, there shouldn't be a ceiling, it shouldn't be a percentage, because it puts a blockage in place, doesn't it? But I think across the unions, it's for every union in every group, for their trade union side in every single group, to put down all of those issues that I can't remember each one of them, but every one of those issues should be put on a trade union agenda, so that union, the black workers within that union, within that group, can pick up on each of those and take them back to their directors to ensure that the figures are growing and that the blockages are removed to progression.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to Justine. Question is, how did you overcome barriers to your advancement? And this is to Justine. Are you still with us, Justine? Is he still there? Okay. He might be having trouble with his system. Okay, I'll go to Tracy on this question. What is the biggest barrier for black people who want to advance their careers in the civil service? This is to Tracy.
So,
You're- okay.
hiya. I'm also on the National Black Members Committee, and I work for HMRC. I've actually been in and out of the civil service for many reasons. I started as what was a clerical assistant and became an administrative assistant because to give us a little bit more money because we had to use a computer. And I was there about 11 years, and I was training people who were getting promoted above me all the time. And I was essentially getting good marks, and sometimes I was being given average marks even though I was clearly performing better than other people. And I kind of, like myself, had a bit of a midlife crisis. I left the civil service at 30 and went to university because I thought this is the only way I'm going to be able to improve, because I wasn't getting the chances within the workplace to get the experience, to get those skills, which has been said before. Now we've moved on a lot now in with the internet and everything. There's many different ways to get those skills, because the thing is, when we look at the civil service behaviours that they want, and we're looking at the jobs and they're saying you wanted to do this, this and this, we're our own worst critics. Many of us have been told we have to be 10 times better than everybody else just to get on the same starting thing, and we continually often overperforming, as Angela has already pointed out, and Justin. Often when we go to the civil service, we're actually quite qualified and experienced anyway, but then we get a block when we're in the civil service because we don't get those opportunities to do this little project, do this little work. We're doing the same kind of monotonous task over and over again, and it's pretty hard to, like, sell how this is showing leadership or this, that, and the other in the behaviours. And what they want is recent experiences as well. So if if you've been out of learning for a few years, you've been in that job for 3, 4, 5 years, you left uni years ago, college, whatever, they don't like you to still use those. Oh, I did this, but that was 10 years ago. What have you done recently? And all that, like, what did you do, not what did your team did. So we have to, sometimes it's good to get a friend to look at you and say, well, you've done this, because we actually do a lot of things outside of that. Many of us are involved in things such as community and faith groups, projects. We've done stuff, maybe even organising events for our children's school. We're on all kinds of committees. We do stuff in the union, as well. We might arrange workshops. We might do public speaking, all that, and there's ways to get that. And there's also continuing professional development. I've put links in there before where obviously you can sign up for the stuff you do in work, but you can build up CPD and get certificates, and some of them are like level 5, level 4. So you can say, well, I've done these practical things, and you can set up your career development plan, as Justin had mentioned. There's links on there, as well as peer-to-peer learning. You can suggest things, but I mean, obviously sometimes in the workplace somebody will ignore it and then they'll say it and it's their idea and they'll be given all the credit for it and you'll just be ignored and they'll get all the awards, and we've all seen that. So institutional racism is a thing. I don't want to go on too long, but there's lots of links in there, and as the National Black Members Committee, we intend to have this as an extended conversation over the year. We're bringing back other things, opportunities for black members to bring this conversation forward, to address all of these barriers. So I'll leave that for now because I don't want to go on forever. I hope it made sense.
Okay, thank you very much. This is open to all. I have no direct involvement in hiring or development, but I'd still like to do my bit. How can I help? This is open to all, so whoever wants to jump in and answer that question.
Sorry, just repeat that question, please. And
Okay.
hopefully I can answer it.
Okay, the question is, I have no direct involvement in hiring or development, but I'd still like to do my bit. How can I help?
So the way how you can help is becoming an independent panel member, or the other way you can also as well do it is if you are looking or hearing about other jobs or speaking to people, is widening the sort of potential recruitment pool by sharing those jobs. Thank you. The other thing I think also as well you can help is by also as well just signposting. That's one of the key things I always sort of say to people. Signpost, signpost, signpost. Because even if you're not interested, thank you very much. Even if you're not a recruitment manager, you can help find someone. And that's the key thing here.
Thank you. Okay, I've got another question here. It's very disheartening not seeing many, if any, that looks like me in senior management in my department. What sort of things would you suggest they do to try and alleviate that? That's to anybody who wouldn't to answer.
Cool. And sorry, would that be all right? Just repeat the question, and
Yep,
hopefully I'll be able to.
That's fine. Okay. It's very disheartening not seeing many, if any, that look like me in senior management in my department. So basically, what can this person do to make a difference, to make it be seen, to try and put the word out?
This is really difficult because I can only really say it from my lens. For a majority of my working career, all of my seniors have been white males, right? And it's only now, probably about the past 4 or 5 years, we're now starting to see white females being in very senior roles. And now we are also as well starting to see a few South Asians and a few blacks, but they're very minimal. But does that stop me from wanting to continue to make my organizations and other organizations that are working better, maybe not for myself, but for the next generation behind me? That's how I look at it. And then if it's about that individual, what can they do? They could be asking questions. They can be looking at how seniors are actually recruited and actually be one of those people that says, well, actually, we could do things in a better way if they feel very comfortable, like being an advocate. The other thing as well, is just asking the question why. Why is that people seem to recruit in their own kind? Or actually, what are HR or what are teams doing about it? And if they feel comfortable doing that, great. If they don't feel comfortable, I'll be honest with you, the other one is always going to be try and find an organization where people who do look like them work and try and see if you can get in there. Because the other thing sometimes is I think we become loyal to organizations that sometimes do not repay that loyalty. So I'll sort of leave it there.
Thank you.
And can I just come in?
Yeah.
Can I just come in and just add something to that? I think it's important as well to make sure that our department is putting out communications as to how we can build a career plan. And I think every member should know, every person on this call should know that they can speak to their line manager and ask them to help them to build a career plan. And if more of our workers knew that, more would be doing that to get the support to actually build the career plan. Because a lot of workers do not know that. I mean, I've never gone for progression. It's not something that I wanted. I do more PCS work and I'm happy with that. But I think if I wanted to do that, I would be speaking to my line manager and saying, I want to get from here to here. Can you support me in what I need to do that? And I think sometimes we miss the role that our line manager teams, our management structure can help, where they can help us. I think we sometimes miss that.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that they, just adding on to that, how do you think that they can get encouragement? Because sometimes it's like their own blocker. So how can they put themselves forward to get to that point? Because sometimes that's what it is. They haven't got the, maybe they're just not scared, but just haven't got the confidence in going going forward with that.
I think confidence is a huge barrier, our own self-confidence a lot of the time. And, we can't just cure that in a meeting like this, can we? We can't just say, well, this is what you need to do. I think it is about us drawing on our experiences, looking at what we do, and actually sometimes looking at what others do and seeing that some people are in a position that is in a higher grade is probably not as competent as you might be. We see that sometimes. Well, actually, I'd have done that a little bit better, and maybe build our own confidence by seeing how much others are not doing so well. But I am going to say this on this call: if you are thinking about it, please jump in at the deep end. Do not be afraid to jump in. Be confident in your ability. I've always said, when we come to civil service, we see people being dismissed for capability. That is a failing on the employer, not a failing on that person, because you come in, you pass your tests to get in, whatever it may be, your success profiles, you come through your probation. So you're a civil servant, and then you start to dip. How have you been allowed to dip? Who has failed to manage your performance and your
Mhm,
progress.
mhm.
That is not a failing in you, it's a failing in your management team. So let us all be more confident in our own abilities and just sometimes just jump in,
Mhm.
even if you jump in with your head down, within, matter of months, you'll be putting your head up and realising that it's the best thing that you have done. So yeah, let's be confident.
Yeah, thank you. That's brilliant. So I've got another question on the same vein. How can we increase diversity at SCS level? That can go to, you still with us, Jason, or you able to answer that one?
Go for it, Anne. What's the
Yeah.
question?
So the question is, how can we increase diversity at SCS level?
So that's easy. How do you increase it? You start building up a network of people. You look internally to see who's potentially on the talent pipeline. Also, as well, you headhunt. So what we did, I came from a department that had no black SES, and had been no black SES in the past 6 years. I'm going to have to do this quickly. I'm jumping in the list, and we managed through some work with HR and seniors. We managed to recruit 11 in less than a year, and that's
Thank you. It's just frozen then. That was quite insightful. Okay, we'll come back to him when he comes back. Would you like to jump in, Angela, to add to that?
I think Justin's in a lift, isn't he? So the question was, how can we improve representation in the senior civil service?
Yes.
I think it is exactly by removing the barriers to those that are feeling that the barrier to progression, by ensuring that we have proper training in place, first of all, but for our seniors to be able to bring people in, but
And then
also to give the training to those that want to be able to improve and progress. I think a lot of it comes down to communication. And, I am going to say, be within the union, bring your issues to the union and let the union help to break down those barriers, because if we can do that, we will definitely see more numbers. We did work, again, in DWP, we did work in the recruitment process. We were told that, well, actually, when the forms come in, when you can't see who it is and it's the numbers, they're just identified by numbers, we get a lot of black people applying. But once it comes to face, the numbers drop off. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the numbers drop for black people when people can see who it is face to face? It should all be anonymous until the last day. Even then, you can tell by people sometimes by somebody's name, can't you? That they might well be a black person. So we still have issues with recruitment, but we are working to build down those barriers, and we're doing it well in some areas, not so well in others. But where the union is strong, we do get more barriers removed. Thanks.
Fantastic. I'm going to do another 2 more questions and that bring us near enough to the end. There's an institutional bias, the way fast streamers are recruited. Tracy, are you able to start that one, and then Angela can step in?
Well, from what I know about fast streaming is they generally focus a lot on universities. I think in career fairs and having a presence there. But I think they have widened it out to more universities than before, because there was a concentration on the, I can't remember the specific name for them, but the more elitist universities. It has spread out there, but I think in recent years the thing is, it seems overemphasizes that, like, if you're a graduate and you just graduated, that's what you want. But, there's graduates who are in different jobs, who've got a wealth of work experience, who might decide to want to come into the civil service, and they can apply for it as well. And I don't think they make that out as much, because there's people like myself who didn't even go for a degree till I was 30. I was a mature student, and we are generally not what they're looking for. But we've got all kinds of work skills and transferable skills, as Justin spoke about before. And there's also people who took time out, whether it's for caring because they had children or whatever, maybe they just had like some time out to travel or what have you, and then want to return to the workplace. They're not really targeted either. And they really know what hard work is. They're really good at time management, because it's a lot to take on to do a job, to do the learning, to do what you have to do. And they're the people that have shown it, they've nailed it. They bought the T-shirt, they made the T-shirt, they sold the T-shirt while they were at it. And so they need to realise our intersectionality and really go for diverse people. And I think, contacting the organisations like the Open University and the colleges that do the extension degrees that are validated by the universities, you know what I mean, when people go to that and other things. And also just basically, I think sometimes it's a certain level of experience you're looking for, and they say fast stream. Sometimes you'll see in the local authority, they'll say you've got to have a 2.1 or 5 years proven experience at a certain level at this job. And I think in the civil service, when they're looking for people for particular skills, to make it fairer for everyone, we should look to push for if you can prove you've got equivalent experience, because some people, they've got a wealth of experience. They're teaching people who've got degrees and masters and everything, and they know more than them. So I think we need to be a bit more in the zone about what talent is in the 21st century, full stop. So I'll just leave it there for now.
Yeah.
Okay, Tracy, I'm sorry, Angela, can you take the same question?
Yeah, just to add to that, I have got the figure in front of me now that I couldn't find before, and it is 98 of 100. So I'm doing it again. Of 14,000 applicants, 14,000, there were 98 recruited in the fast stream to bring in Black workers into the civil service. So 98 people of 14,000. The others, they said, might not have been equipped for civil service. Absolute disgrace, not acceptable, and massive, shows us the massive issues that we have. So I think that all that Tracy has said is correct. But what I just want to add as well about the pay gap, if we do not fix the numbers, if we are not able to build progression for our Black workers, we are never going to be able to fix the race pay gap, because we are seeing in the lowest grades, predominantly Black workers in the lowest grades, and we are seeing the lowest grades on the lowest pay across our departments. So how can we fix that pay gap if we do not fix the barriers to employment? And the fast stream, there is a clear bias. Tracy has talked about the talent that we have within our Black workforce. Why is that? Why would a department not want to tap in into the massive amount of talent that we have there in that pool? It's a detriment to the civil service that they are not removing the barriers to employment and employing more Black workers in the higher grades. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you. We've got a few minutes left. Is there anything that you'd like to end on?
And Justin wanted to come
Oh,
in.
sorry.
Is that all right? So I
Yes.
was going to say quick.
Yes,
I was going to say something.
definitely. Yes.
Both Tracy and Angela has articulated it much more better than me. I think that we also as well have to be quite open to the fact that regardless of wherever we work, whether it's the civil service, whether it's in private, whether it's the NHS, wherever the organisations are, there is always going to be a preference for younger, brighter and fitter, right? And what we need to also as well understand is that, this is what I was saying, Tracy, like you articulated it better. If we really are going to have an organisation that is as efficient and effective and fair and transparent as possible, you have to include everyone. And everyone means not just about ethnic minority, but also as well age, and also is about region, like where they live, and also about their sexual orientation and all of those other good things. The problem is most organizations are not built like that. And we have to also as well be honest that us here listening now have to help organizations change. A majority of the organizations, when we probably first joined in our career, has adapted to some point, but have adapted really slowly. But probably by the time we want to hopefully see or reflect the kind of organizations that we want to work with, it will probably be thinking about retirement, or AI will be taking over, or whatever the society changes will force organizations to change. I think while we are here in the present and the here and now, I would always say a couple of things, which is one, there are going to be some pockets within some organizations that truly do want to change at the rate that we know they need to change. If you can find those areas, great. If you are in one of those areas where you know things are never going to change, and whether that's because senior management doesn't look like you, or senior management doesn't demonstrate emotional or empathic intelligence, right, or cultural awareness, then that organization or that team or that area is not for you. And it's really easy, and I say this, it is really easy, even if it only means doing a sideways move for the time being, to do that so that your mental health and your well-being is at the forefront. Then once you're in those kind of places, then definitely be looking for opportunities where you can progress, or look for opportunities where you can help others get into those senior positions, or where you can hold people to account. But I think that we are in a space that we also as well have to adapt. And what I mean by adapt, I mean adapt our way of being more fluid than probably where we were before. I don't believe that there is such a thing now as job for life. I do think, though, that we are also as well in a space where sometimes we can limit our own ambition and our own ability in our own career. The system in the civil service is flawed. We know that the recruitment system is flawed, but you've got to have the resilience to keep on pushing. And that's the bit I really want to say. I remember when I applied for my first grade 7 job, I had to go to 40 interviews just to get offered 5 jobs.
Wow.
Right. So I'm saying persistence and and resilience is really key in this
Yeah.
space, and also as well working with other people. So the work that Angela is doing is making it a lot more fairer now in organizations that probably we ever saw 5 or 10 years ago. But once again, we have to find the right pockets that will value you and what you bring, and whether that is through experience because of your age, whether it's experience through what your work, whether it's transferable skills, but just don't let the system break you down. And that's the bit I'm trying to remind people. I know it's tough, but you really got to just keep pushing. I'll stop now. Sorry. Back to you, Anne. Oh, sorry. Back to you, Angela, because you've got one.
You okay if I just come in quickly, Anne? Yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
You almost reduced me to tears there, Justin, because you know that is exactly the point, isn't it? When you talk about having to go to so many interviews, and it does really affect the mental health of our Black workers, and that again affects the confidence, and it is, you know, DWP keeps saying to us, it's about resilience. Why do we have to be so resilient? We shouldn't have to have this building of resilience all of the time, but that's what it is. We have to be strong. And I know that my dad used to say to not so much to me because I was very pale, but to others in my family, you have to work 3 times as hard and you have to be 3 times as good. And, you know, an A is not good enough. You need an A+, an A star, because it will always be harder and more difficult for you. And that's one of the things that I think I brought through into my working life, to make sure that I try to fix some of that, so that we try to again break down those barriers. And I just want to give out a shout out, because he's not here, to Mohammed Shafiq, the chair of our national Black Members Committee. We've done some fantastic work with Mohammed. He is always totally on the ball, on the front foot with all of this, and he's not here at the moment. And just to say, you know, we worked well with Mohammed on the National Executive Committee, and I feel he's been a massive loss this year because he did not get to the National Executive Committee for whatever reasons there may be. It certainly wasn't because of his work ethic. It certainly wasn't because of what he brings to the table. I think there might have been some, I don't know, somebody wasn't happy with all of the work that we were doing together. That there's something there, but you know, we have to make sure that we have got our prominent Black representatives right in front and centre, because there's one thing that I cannot do, as much as I would want to. As much as people say to me, oh, you can tell by the features that you're one of them, and I'm like, what do you mean one of them? What do you mean by that? But by my skin tone and my hair, you'd never know. So there's one thing I can't do, and that is be visibly representative of Black workers. I will always represent, always stand up to be counted and to fight the cause for our Black workers. But we need to be representative. So again, come to PCS if you can. Let's make sure that together we are breaking down those barriers to recruitment, barriers to progression, and again, fixing that race gap. Getting rid of all this bias, you know, removing all of this bias that we are seeing, making sure that there are people that are representative of us in every single part of the civil service. It is key to our very existence in the civil service, I would argue. Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. what a session. Yeah, absolute gems to take away. And I hope that you do go back and look at the recording and take what you need out of it. You really do have to be proactive, work on your self development, which is key to make a difference for yourself, and to be open-minded and acceptable for change, because it will happen as you go along. You might say, this is where I want to be, and then the system changes, and then you're still stuck as where you want to be, but the system's moved. So be open-minded and acceptable to change. Just want to go over just a few of the learning that we have available. So we've put a lot in links into the chat. So I hope you're going to go back and open the links, take copies, and go through them, because they're all, each one of them, vital for information that you may need to progress. We've got applying for a role in the civil service, overview of success profiles. Now there is sessions going. I believe I saw in the link that it's the session's full up, but put yourself on the waiting list. Okay, for that one. Writing a personal profile statement. It's a 3-hour workshop, and they're all in the PCS digital. So make sure you signed up for that. You have to sign up to be able to get the link to join the sessions, and the sessions are all free. Okay, so go through, see what's interested to you, and then please log in and take part on that. As well as that, there will be other learning via the regional learning coordinators. Look out for those as well. Those are normally sent out by email, and sometimes it's short notice. So look out for those as well, which are very good. There's a lot going on through Black History Month, but there's things going on beyond that. So have a look at that. A lot of things to help you with your trying to get to advancement and to try and develop your personal skills. So we've got Value My Skills, which is to recognize your skills. What do you do to recognize it? And it used to be a pack of cards, but now it's all digital, which you can do in your own time. So that is really good. So there's an hour session on that, but you can go back and do it at your own pace. CV writing, we've got an introduction to, because it's quite vast. There's a lot of areas to go on that. Success profile as well, I've already said, but that is also on .gov, where you can go in and read it at your pace. I suggest if you're applying for a job, go to that first before you start your application. Look at the areas that they're pointing out of which they want from you, understand what they're asking of you, and then do your write-up. So that's the stage I would go through if you're going to apply for a role. Yeah, so I think that's it. If there's anything I missed out, I'll put it in the chat so you can go through if it's not already there. But I think Tracy's done a brilliant job of putting everything in there. I'd once again like to thank our guests, which is Angela, Jason, Tracy, myself, Laura, Diane. Have I missed anybody out?
No, but it's Justin. Justin.
Sorry.
And can we thank
Justin.
you as well, Anne? Can we
Oh.
thank you for chairing? I think you've been a brilliant chair. Thank you.
Oh,
And
thank
to
you.
Tracy as well for doing the
Yeah.
and to Law. Thank you all.
Yes, and Law, thank you. Absolutely brilliant. I'd like to thank everybody here, and I hope that we hear from you. You join up if you haven't. You know, we want to see you at those sessions. So well done to everybody here, and thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Justin.
Okay,
Good to
thank
meet you.
you.
Good to see you online.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, everyone, and thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Angela, I'll email
Thank you.
you. It'd be really good to have a separate conversation.
Yes, let's do
Cool.
that. Yes.
Definite. Speak soon. Bye.
Speak
Thank
soon.
you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.